Computational thinking is a problem-solving strategy that we use to help kids be able to take problems, whether it's in the classroom or in their real life, and take out information that they don't need, focus on things that are important, and then break it down into manageable steps so that they can solve it more easily.
It's something that we're using with kids in schools to help them be able to take on tough problems and use those critical thinking skills as a framework to solve difficult problems. It really empowers them, and it goes a lot with the growth mindset and just helping them realize that they can solve hard problems and giving them that framework to guide them through it. It's really a skill that they can take with them in the other subjects and then also someday into their career.
Computational thinking involves decomposition, abstraction, patterns, and then algorithms. The decomposition is looking at it and breaking it down into reasonable steps. Breaking things into reasonable steps works out really well because it is overwhelming sometimes to have a really huge problem. So having them to be able to break it down into steps makes it more manageable pieces that they can solve, and then it also allows them to have that accomplishment of, oh, I finished this part, now I can move on to the next part.
It makes it feel so much easier and you feel so much more comfortable making a mistake because you know where your mistake was and you know how you can fix it and what needs to be done because you've decomposed it into those smaller parts.
Abstraction is going through and seeing what's important and what's not, and taking out those things that are important.
This is really important in problem solving when you have that extra information as part of your word problem, and you can even use this in other disciplines such as research, and research is incorporated into all the different subjects and a lot of careers.
I use it in all my subjects. It's basically a day-to-day thing, and you use it every day, and sometimes you don't realize it.
And then patterns is finding things that are repeatable.
You're going to look at those bits to see if you can come up with any kinds of patterns that make sense to you. You have to look at the things that don't form a pattern and get something from them, as well as the things that do form a pattern. Part of computational thinking is figuring out what things go together and will help you, and then what things don't need to be included in the problem that you're solving.
After you find the pattern, you focus on the biggest problem, and the biggest problem is what you would start first.
Algorithms is making a step-by-step process to solve the problem.
A lot of times you think of the word algorithm when you think of math, and we do have those step-by-step processes to get through our problems, but there's also step-by-step procedures for things in, let's say, ELA, where they have things they use like RAPs, where it's a step-by-step method to do with writing. So you really see it across all the disciplines.
We look at algorithms because kids can relate to algorithms because we do them on a daily basis. We talk about how, when you get up in the morning, you're putting your clothes on and you're brushing your teeth, all of those are step-by-step processes. And if you forget something, by looking at your steps, it's easy to know how to fix it. Making the bed, giving directions, recipes, all of those things involve computational thinking, of breaking it down, going with the most important part of a task, tackling that first, and then moving on to the smaller parts.
We need to start our kids young, teaching them how to solve those problems and how to break it down into step-by-step pieces and solve each step one at a time. Getting them used to that process early, they can use it throughout life, and it really gives them the confidence to take on hard problems.
You use it in jobs, outside of school, use it in school, and almost everywhere you go.
Computational thinking is not just something that happens in computer science. I think that kids learn really quickly that computational thinking just helps you in life. They'll be the first ones to tell you it just teaches you how to think.
Anybody can use computational thinking, from the smallest kindergartners up to senior citizens. It's a life skill, and it's a great way to not get frustrated. Having a growth mindset of what can I do or what can I do next is a thing that's beneficial for everyone, and being able to see things logically is helpful.
If they don't fail, then they're not going to be learning in here. And then once they do make those mistakes, then they get into those computational thinking patterns and strategies and come up with some solutions. My son, he is in high school now, and I sit back and think, what would he have been like if he had this starting from our kindergarten level on? What kind of learner would he be? What kind of employee would he be? He does have some of those skills, but by getting them young, developing the critical thinking skills, they're going to be ready for the job market, any job.
I used to be afraid of failing because I thought if I failed, I wouldn't be good anymore. But I figured out that failure leads to success.
You can find out where your strengths lie to do other things that we can use in life in the future.